If there's any sort of series that you would like to recommend to me or to anybody, what one would it be and why is it Slam Dunk?
You already knew. You
Mm.
already knew. So from that response, I imagine you have actually watched Slam Dunk before.
No, that is my controversial opinion. I'm sorry. Thanks for being on the stream with me
It's your
today.
controversial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your apology stream.
Yeah, that's right. Oh no, I'm
Now,
sorry.
you only have to apologize if you say that you don't like it after you've started it.
Oh,
No,
okay.
but Slam Dunk is honestly, it's just such a feel-good series. The artwork is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's got it's got the comedy that you want. If you're someone who loves watching the Zoro and Sanji interactions and sort of the classic rivalry that you see across so many different shonen series, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that Slam Dunk is probably one of the pioneers in having that sort of trope or having that sort of character relationship because you get it from the two main characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also just a classic story about a journey of of someone, the classic, shonen journey of a young boy, or not a young boy, but a young man, I don't know, that, 16, 17-year-old,
Yep.
like that teenager boy status, going through a journey of discovering sport that he wasn't initially interested in. And he only joined because he wanted to impress a girl that he likes. So it's like, classic comedy hijink. And then it actually turns into something serious where he falls in love with the sport. And you, as the audience, also fall in love with the sport because you get to see some of the you get to see his development, you get to see, like his emotional journey, his like physical aptitude and how he like fits well with the sport. And someone like, for me, I like the sport of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very good at it because I am what you can say vertically challenged.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So I'm not a good player. I have played in sort of like like, what do you call it? I guess seasons, and I have joined a few like teams here, like just playing. But I've never been really good, but also only started playing like recently, or at the time that I was watching Slam Dunk, or first watched Slam Dunk. I'd only started playing recently. So it sort of felt like my journey falling in love with the sport all over again and appreciating it in a new way. But even if you don't particularly love basketball, or if you're not particularly interested in basketball, it does have a knack in making you feel, that sense of accomplishment and the sense of, any sort of new hobby or any sort of new passion that when someone's interested in it, when someone, their first spark for that sport is ignited, and the sort of journey that you go through. It is an amazing journey. So yes, I would 10 out of 10 recommend it. It's not super long as well. And I don't know, I suppose it's like the animation is old, obviously, when you're first watching the anime, but it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that it's like particularly slow because the pacing's done right. And then you get to read the artwork as well. And then you see, oh my God, like Takeo Inoue, like such a great artist. I don't know if you've ever watched if you've read Vagabond.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have, okay. So I
Yes.
haven't read that.
Okay.
But yeah, super up there.
Yes.
Like the emotions that you feel like.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I associate his work with Vagabond, and just like I absolutely love the artwork. Like it's just the actual honestly works of art, and it's so interesting to have someone do a story like that who also did Slam Dunk. I find that's very fascinating. But already his track record is already super duper high, so I know that it's going to be done really well. But yeah, I mean, I've tried my hand at different sports series. Like I watched was it Haikyuu?
Haikyuu, yeah.
Haikyuu, yeah, that was fun. I didn't get all the way through it, but it was very fun. I tried getting into Hajime no Ippo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely am into that whole kind of dynamic of a team, and then yeah, like you said, like falling in love and just getting progressively better in a sport that's like very competitive is very cool. And I was going to ask, what is your recommended way to experience slam dunk if you have the choice. Like for me, my favorite manga is Berserk, to the point of getting it tattooed. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I love it for the artwork. So if you
hmm
have a choice, I'd probably say like reading the manga, you can just go straight through it. But would you prefer watching the anime first or the manga first, or?
For me personally, I I think it's not necessarily that this is like slam dunk specific, but even with like One Piece, I would always recommend just watching the anime, but that's personally because I prefer watching over reading.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it has to do with like what sort of, like learner you are, right? Like you know how some people are like visual learners or like auditory learners and
hmm
whatnot. Like I prefer the anime experience. Like if you can have like the soundtrack going through, you can have like the dynamic movement and stuff. That's just something that I personally enjoy. I will say though that the manga for Slam Dunk, like because you just mentioned, like yeah, the mangaka, he's like super talented, and
hmm
his works are literally works of art. It's not just panels. Like the amount of detail that you see, like the facial expressions, like it is like truly top tier. So the manga definitely is great. Um, but I think the soundtrack for Slam Dunk is really funny as well. And like I said, like unless there's a problem with pacing, like unless there's a problem where I think the anime is not doing it justice, then I will always prefer watching it first. But that being said, the fact that the anime actually never finished animating the entire series.
hmm
So
Okay.
so I think what happened was, from my understanding, is that Inoue-san decided that he didn't want the anime to continue animating, and I think he might not have given them the rights to continue animating the entire series. Well, that's my understanding of it anyways. I'm not
hmm
too sure if that's correct, which is why the anime never finished. And the point at which they stopped was actually like a pretty good like sweet spot. But then you end up finding out that there is actually like the series actually gets continued, and you go to the end. And so you see, and then you realize that you can actually read the rest of the series, and in that way, you get to pick up, and then you get to also experience the manga for what it is. And I
hmm
think being like Slam Dunk having been one of Inoue's earlier works, like obviously it came before Vagabond, for example. I think his art style like really progressed throughout the series as well. So by that point, his artwork had definitely like improved since I think when the manga would have first started.
hmm
And so I think going from the anime to the manga isn't, I think that's a good journey. And that's also how I like, for example, that's how I started One Piece. Like I had no problem with the One Piece animation at the beginning. I think like obviously it's an older style of anime than what we're used to now. And for a lot of people, if you are used to seeing the likes of like, I don't know, like Demon Slayer and like Chainsaw Man and all the new stuff that's coming out, starting One Piece might feel quite slow. But if you're someone who doesn't mind like the slow, like very, casual and like very laid back style of anime, it's a really lovely, like nostalgic um piece of art really to enjoy. I don't know if that's been your experience, but I always get very nostalgic and I always feel very good and just sort of like at peace watching the earlier seasons of One Piece. And then it wasn't only sort of until later when the anime started getting like super drawn out and like really slow paced, that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to switch over to the manga.